right, sounds from the crowd. It is August 24th, 8:24. Happy Mamba Day to everybody out there, to you and yours. I hope you had a great day. It's a Monday today. We kind of slacked off yesterday. We were out of town, a lot of moving parts, but we decided if we're going to give you guys some quality stuff, we needed to change the day. So here we are. Yeah, it's a good day. How are you guys doing today? It's Monday.
Looking back on it now, I kind of think Moreno wanted to move it on purpose for Kobe Day.
This is not a surprise at all.
Yeah.
2 days. He gets his birthday and then 8/24.
Yeah, I know. Reina, hot take Reina is hating on the back-to-back Kobe love.
They just kind of roll into each other. I didn't realize he was 8/23 on his birthday, and then Mamba Day is 8/24. It's close.
Yeah, it definitely is. But hey, I mean, what are you gonna do? It's a very weird circumstance, and he deserves to be celebrated. Damn it!
Oh, of course.
But before we get into the basketball, before we get into the Mamba Mania, we're gonna talk Champions League final. I know DB was all in it, and actually 3 out of 4 of us, maybe Randy didn't get the memo, had a little bit of juice going on that Bayern Munich.
Yes.
Rundown, DB.
Yeah, it's Bayern Munich were very good to me after the restart. I won some juice off them. It was an interesting final. They changed the format of the knockout stages. It's typically a home and away tie. They had it all in one site in Portugal, and they played it in a lot more rapid pace. They're playing like a game a week. But honestly, it made for some really exciting matches, and I think there were 2 deserving finalists in Bayern and PSG. But these rich oil money teams in PSG and in Manchester City are finding it really difficult to win in Europe. It's really interesting. They're winning in their domestic leagues, but it seems time and time again, when it comes down to European finals, the pedigree starts to come through. So Munich won, probably deservingly so. That's their 6th time. You know, Liverpool won their 6th last year, and before that, Madrid, who've won the most times, won 3 years in a row. So, you know, you can buy some things, but you can't buy class. So, pretty good game. Neymar once again proved that he's probably not he's the world's most expensive player, but he's probably not the guy that you want in a cup final to win it. I was a little disappointed that Kylian Mbappe didn't play better than he did. It's amazing how he's still as young as he is, but it's a good game. And I'm really glad that they ended up getting to finish off the campaign, because the Champions League sounded like it may not restart. So I was glad that even in an altered format, they still got it done.
Yeah. And that was you're riding them, like you said, Bayern. You're riding them all restart, huh? Because I know we kept up with Bundesliga pretty closely for about a month or so, and then this came out, and you were all on it.
They won 21 games to finish the season. Pretty unbelievable. Really cool team. You know, a mix of young and old. They had 4 players who started the last time they were in the final, which was 2013. Which is pretty impressive. You think about being at the top of the game that long. And then they have some really exciting young players. And, you know, it's just a really impressive squad, probably deserving champs.
Yeah, they are stacked. It's ridiculous how stacked they are. And I think it's very interesting that, you know, the EPL, while I think it's the most physical league out there, it's also gotten furthest away from the purest form of football. And so I think it's just interesting to see a German or even, you know, Spanish or Italian, those teams seem to come out on the top more than not. And they are less aggressive physically, I think, than the Premier League. So we'll see.
Yeah, no doubt. It was a good little finish to the season. And it's just crazy. Like, the domestic leagues are starting next week. So they get back on a normal schedule. So it's pretty wild. It's like almost like having permanent soccer, which I like.
It's quick.
So lots of unders.
Oh yeah, under SEN.
Under season. And, you know, as I mentioned before, and I will mention about 8 more times throughout this next 25 minutes is, you know, a lot of Kobe content out there today, and one thing in particular was his passion for soccer that was repeated over and over again, and how because he essentially grew up in Italy, right? So he gravitated towards the game, and he was pretty skilled. Obviously, not to the level of professional soccer player, but he was pretty skilled with the ball.
Yeah, and had some relationships with some global stars like Messi and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I think it was clear he was a true fan, because I think it was before the '08 Olympics, before they went, they asked him what he was looking forward to the most, and he was like, I'm looking forward to seeing this young guy from Argentina named Messi play. Before he was who he was, in an interview he was talking about.
So is it Ronaldinho who was on was it AC Milan?
yeah.
Am I getting this right?
Yeah.
So that was the story I read. Okay, so he was really good friends with Ronaldinho, and that early on they were in Los Angeles, and he introduced him to Messi, and Ronaldinho was like, "This is going to be the best player in the world," and Messi's like 19 at the time, and so I guess that's kind of where that connection came from as well.
Cool.
Yeah, really cool. Really cool. And I was all into all the Kobe content today. Which kind of always makes me wonder what my favorite moment it is. And there's a lot. Like, I just think about the 20-year career, and when I started watching, which was in, obviously when he was drafted in '96, his slam dunk contest winner, and then he just kept on killing it throughout the rest of the years. Obviously towards the end of his career, couple injury-filled seasons, but still always performed. I'm curious, what were y'all's favorite? I know y'all aren't huge fans, but let's start here with Danny. What was your favorite Kobe moment?
Favorite Kobe moment was, I think it was the '06 playoffs, and I think it was the fourth quarter. Lamar Odom fell on the floor and found Kobe, and then Kobe just basically put his nuts all over Steve Nash's chin.
Yeah.
In a crazy dunk. And I think it was the post-game interview, or maybe the next day at the practice interview. They interviewed Nash, and he was like, "Yeah, it was awesome." Like, he just owned it, And I think I think it speaks a lot about how people felt about him.
Yeah. And another competitive thing about it was Allen Iverson wrote a great letter to Kobe on the Players Tribune, and is basically just like, praising him. And when you get a praise from someone like Allen Iverson, who's a freaking dog in his own right, you just felt that regardless of how the attitude that maybe he was portrayed and some fans didn't like, there was not a player in the NBA who didn't respect and enjoy competing against Kobe. You know what I mean? Raina, what do you got? So I'll go to Raina and Danny, because we essentially grew up together, and Lakers Spurs were just a huge rivalry, right? And it kept everything fun. Raina, what was yours?
I really like his press conference after Game 2 of the NBA Finals. I think it's '09, and he says, "Job not finished. Job finished." And it was pretty cool. It shows that Kobe, I think people get caught up in the moment, maybe try to kind of get excited about what's happening. If you're up 2-0, you look like you're the better team. I think at that point you can kind of relax a little bit, but I think Kobe kept that foot on the gas. I'm getting this damn title, that was his mentality. I think he was coming back after losing the finals, right, in '08. So
right,
I think
he lost
to Celtics, yeah. And so I think he has something to prove, and you don't prove it until it's done, So it's a Kobe moment.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of like how can you describe Kobe in a moment, and that's definitely one of them. DB, what do you got?
I think my favorite period of time with him was the three-peat with Shaq. I liked Shaq a lot. And the thing we've lost a little bit in the era of the baby back bitch is just the killer athletes. And I love that two guys who at the time clearly didn't get along figured out, we could lift one another up to be great. I don't know that you just don't see as many athletes doing that nowadays. while I may not be a Lakers fan and, probably rooted against Kobe more than rooted for him, just that competitive drive was something I've always respected. He definitely had the mindset of a champion.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the thing that you take away the most, right? And I have 3 moments that would just kind of like capture it all. First one was when he was playing as the Spurs, dislocated his finger, goes to the sideline, trainer pops the finger back in and just goes right back out there, right? Like doesn't even doesn't take a second off, goes straight, gets it popped, and then goes right back in. Just ridiculous. The second was when he tore his Achilles, same thing, freaking they call timeout, he's trying to regroup, his freaking heel is hanging off of his foot, but he still walks to the free throw line, drains 2 free throws, and then walks off the court, right? Doesn't get carried off, doesn't have somebody else take his free throws. He fucking does it, right? And then the last one has to be his last game when he dropped 60. It was just incredible. It was my favorite moment. It was the most exciting thing I've seen, even over championships. But I think all 3 of those events, it just shows you the type of willpower of I'm going to get it done. I'm not going to make an excuse, and I'm going to leave it all on the court. And if I don't do that, then I failed. And that's the only way that he measured his failure, was by not living up to his own standard, right?
The one other thing I would like to say about Kobe, I think he did a great job in branding himself. His commercials are great. He could put his competitiveness into context for people to get.
Right.
And the Mamba mentality, the commercial of Kanye, how many records do I got to break? More records, and it's just it's a fun.
But I'm the greatest.
Yeah. What the fuck does that mean, Kobe Bryant? But it's such a good commercial,
Yeah. The one with Jalen, how many olives would you like? 81.
And then the server's like 81. He goes, "No, it's a joke. It's a joke." He gets it. I'll take 2. Yeah, no, it's crazy, man. It was it's definitely you hate to see things like that happen, but you also like to see the celebration of something that was pretty unique, and you kind of don't realize it until it's taken away from you, but it helps everybody realize it. Because I know for the most part, a lot of people like to hate on Kobe, right? But it was because he was what we just described, and of course you don't want to cheer for that if it's against you. And he's playing for the Lakers with the ultimate, the ultimate evil empire.
Yeah, I think the ultimate respect of any player is when you hate them so much, yet you would easily have them on your own team.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's the ultimate respect, I think, as a fan, from a fan.
Right.
Spurs, with Kobe, I think we had a lot of fair share of battles. And same with Dirk Nowitzki. I think both of those guys, that when they retired, I think Spurs fans are just as sad as everybody else, just because we've not as sad, but you know what I mean? We kind of watch these guys on the other side of it. And I think we played probably the most battles with Kobe.
Right.
Well, part of the Spurs, really. And the most iconic battles, I mean, the path to the championship went through either San Antonio or LA for years.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
it definitely was. It's kind of symbolizing, as DB kind of pointed out too, kind of an end of an era where, you don't get players like that anymore. The Tim Duncans are gone. The Dirks are gone. The Kobes are gone. And now you got a different style, which isn't necessarily bad, but it's just different. Go ahead.
And you know this because we always talk. I always gave Paul a hard time because of how much money Kobe was taking.
Yeah.
Especially as it got in later. But the thing I'll give Kobe is that he never took nights off. I mean, towards the end, I know that he would have a game here or a game there, but it wasn't no Kawhi schedule in his prime.
Right. That could get annoying. That gets super annoying. And that's what I didn't like about LeBron and during this restart, is that he didn't give it everything he had every single game. You know what I mean?
Kobe was old school like that. I think he liked to play the game hard. MJ played the game hard too. So I think Kobe was just idolize MJ, and the only way he's taking time off is to go play baseball. Outside of that, beating your ass.
Right. And you make the Kawhi reference. I do, even though he does take this games off load management, I do think he approaches the game like a Kobe Bryant or like that old school manner of I'm gonna just get my business done. I'm gonna play as hard as I can while I'm out there. And and he's fucking probably the closest thing we get to that throwback player of Kobe Bryant in that era, right? The mid range that play with your back to the rim, fadeaway jumper. I know you don't want to hear that because he's not a Spurs guy anymore. But you saw him against the Mavs, and he fucking killed it down the stretch. Unfortunately, he ran into Luka. Man, that guy is something else, man. He's just incredible. You see that last second three. First of all, it takes some huge balls to take that shot, especially when you're only down one, right? And you go for the three, the game-winning three. Unfortunately, he had Reggie Jackson on him. Raina, what'd you think of that?
That was terrible. I mean, if you have Paul George, Mr. Bad Shot himself, and Kawhi Leonard, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year on your team, and fucking Reggie Jackson is covering Luka, I don't give a shit what switch. You could throw 3 or 4 guys that I'm still putting someone on them. I think they left him on an island, made a bad playoff call or made a bad defensive scheme call. They knew it was going to Luka. It was obvious they're going to do a switch to get it to Luka. That was the most obvious thing. I'm not putting Reggie Jackson on him.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, what did Luka have? DB, Luka could shoot the ball. Obviously, he can set the players up with the sit, and he could rebound the ball. Man, is there a weak spot in Luka's game?
So I admittedly probably don't watch as much NBA as you guys do, but hearing from stuff I listen to, stuff I read, you're just hearing about this guy Luka is a big deal. He's a big deal. He's a big deal all regular season, and that he's doing unprecedented things for a second-year player, and he's been unbelievable. And he doesn't play on you look at that series. If they don't throw out Porzingis for those soft technicals, it could very well be 3-1 Mavs right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, this guy, you want to talk about hype, living up to hype. He's got it all. And I still think Kawhi is probably the guy that at least based on his recent playoff record, you'd bet on Kawhi. But Luka's bodying the guy on certain possessions. I wouldn't say he's owning him or anything like that, but Luka can get anywhere he wants on the court. Great hair.
There might be a chance that he's better than Kawhi in the series.
Obscure name, man. He's doing some crazy stuff, and what's interesting is the NBA is likely going to have they've obviously made a big push to be a global league. The two faces of the league are going to be Giannis and Luka. You're not going to have an American player as the best player in the NBA. And when was the last time you could say that? It's pretty crazy.
I don't know.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's wild. I mean, but it's been really fun to watch, and you think this is his second year, and he's putting up 45 in the playoffs against a great defensive team. Where's the ceiling, Danny? Where does it end?
So I think I still think the Mavs, while they're the number one offense, apparently their efficiency rating is the greatest offense in the history of the game, even better than the Golden State run a couple of years ago. I still think that they are a defensive anchor away from being a monster team.
Right.
Because I mean, yeah, you can outscore everybody all you want, but Golden State was still a good defensive team. You still got to be able to get stops when you need them, right?
Right.
And so I think, not necessarily saying that Luka won't keep continuing to grow, but now he's at the point where it's like, okay, we know you can do all this. It's like, okay, Jordan, we know you can win scoring titles. Go win some rings. And so I think now, I mean, he's there. He just needs to rip off at least one ring, and then it's like, okay, he's in a different conversation. And I just think if they can get like a Tyson Chandler type, they need some, because Porzingis is not that guy. And I thought one of the biggest mistakes Dallas made when breaking up that roster that won was getting rid of Tyson Chandler. He's not, he's not a superstar, but he's somebody that can give you some presence, and get you a stop when you need it. And I just think that they need somebody.
Yeah, they're definitely not quite complete. And Luka could probably play more defense, but I mean, shit, man. At the end of it, if he doesn't get hurt, like I see multiple championships, and he's the reason why.
I do think he could lean out a little bit.
Yeah, he probably has a little baby fat on him still.
Yeah, like I mean, and I know but I mean, at the same time, he has a lot of miles on him, right? He's been playing pro for a while now, and so I'm thinking about it more from that point, like lean out a little bit so you have a little more rubber on the wheels for a longer period of time.
I would say someone like him is almost like Shaq. You know, they need weight to use their advantages. Like Zion, I would say actually probably needs to lean out because he's too big and his weight isn't as useful as it's costing him. Shaq got better at LA because he was a bigger guy than he was at Orlando. I think he used his weight a lot in the post. And then in a way, I've seen Luka use that weight pretty well, kind of bodying people on the way to the rim, give him a little nudge there. So he's a big dude. It's tough to slow down the post or driving.
Yeah, I mean he's really big, man. It's crazy the way that he's and the break, right? It was like 3 months, right? A 3-month break between March and now, or however many months it was, dude. So to some people, right, that's probably bad. Like LeBron, he's probably slowed down, man. This probably is like a second season to him, another off season. So maybe might have lost a step over that for 3 months, right? To someone like Luka, that break, okay, so now you're in your third season essentially, right? So now it's like instead of being in season 2, I just had an off season that maybe I was still studying film, maybe I was still still practicing my game, and now I just got an extra off season, and now I just snuck in a third year, and elevated his growth. I didn't really watch him too closely over the normal season, to be honest. I knew he was good, but I didn't really watch him like we're watching him now, and it's been fun to watch. It's crazy. And Playoff P, where's that guy been? DB?
Playoff P stinks. That guy stinks. Honestly, the Clippers are so weird because their ceiling is like championship, but their floor is getting eliminated in the first round by the Mavs show, right?
Right.
So they're definitely a weird team. But man, Paul George, I was listening to Bill Simmons today. Paul George was third in MVP voting last year.
Yeah.
And he had a half in this series where he didn't score a point. And I think he had another half where he scored 2.
And this is the third year he's doing this shit. This isn't the first year. This isn't a bad streak. He did this shit.
Oh, no. Yeah, he's
Oklahoma City 2 series in a row. I mean, yeah, sorry, DB, to cut you off, but
no, it's just, I mean, it's like, what is this guy's freaking deal? And you look at that team, and they better be pretty careful. I think the Game 5 winner wins the series.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, like, don't let Luka go up 3-2 on you, because I don't think he's letting you get 2 in a row. So it's played out pretty weird. But I mean, you can look at how close those games have been. If Paul George plays, he's played so bad that if he plays an average game, they win those games. You're not even needing him to go off. It's just like, show up, man.
Yeah. Give me 10 points. Give me 10 points, and they win yesterday.
10 points with not shooting like 18 shots.
Yeah, I think his confidence is shot. I think he's deferring. Game 2, he took 17 shots. Game 3, he took 16 shots. Game 4, he took 14 shots. He's taking less and less shots every single game. He had a decent Game 1. He averaged 21 points this season, and he's averaging 14 right now in the playoffs. But the thing is, too, yeah, and the other thing, too, is that his playoff career average is only 18 points.
Yeah.
So this is nothing new for him as far as like disappearing. But the fact that he's also now deferring, like, it's just like, dude. Yeah. I mean, and I think honestly, it kind of feels like Lou Williams was like, just give me the damn ball. Like,
dude, and Lou Williams, for as like non-imposing as Lou Williams is, that guy could put the ball in the best basket any freaking time down the court. It's crazy.
I'm going to say this one thing because I think, Dame missed those 2 free throws against the Clippers, and freaking Patrick Beverly was making his joke, "Oh, Dame time," and then PG-13 went after him, and this Clipper team has been arrogant. Like they're counting their chickens before it hatches type stuff, and I think they were already thinking we're going to just go to the finals, because they have a stacked team, and all these guys are riding the coattails of the good team. And it's kind of funny because I think their mindset or their mentality, you shouldn't be laughing at somebody for missing free throws like that. No other guys do that. That's kind of a little low class.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm okay with watching the Mavs eliminate the Clippers and be like, 1, 2, 3 Cancun to you boys. Y'all didn't bring it in the playoffs when it counted.
Yeah, and then the Clippers are one of those on the opposite ends of the benefits of the restart because they haven't had Patrick Beverly. They barely got Harrell back. They haven't had a complete team in forever, right? So that's something that's also to think about. Lakers are kind of the same way where they're in shambles and they're just hoping that the LeBron AD magic comes through. Teams that are killing it. The DB's Raptors, the biggest Raptors fan in United States of America, Drew Butler. What do you think about Raptors Celtics coming up here?
It's going to be an amazing series. The Raptors may give the Celtics at least one game, but 4-1 seems reasonable. No, in all seriousness, I think it's going to be the best second round series the way it's shaping up. Both teams mowed through them, and it's like even teams too, right? You've got this really balanced Toronto team, and then you've got some stars that are playing well for Boston. I think the Hayward getting hurt will hurt them more in this series than it did against the bitch-ass 76ers. They didn't notice Gordon Hayward going out too much against the Sixers because trusting the process is not the way to go. But, man, that's going to be a great second-round series. We've got a lot of good ones that are shaping up. I was thinking Rockets-Lakers might be interesting, but now the Rockets are even. Who knows if Oklahoma City's got some juice to come back. So we're shaping up for a really good second round. I think these playoffs have been pretty fantastic so far. There's been surprises. There's been interesting matchups, and it's not perfect, but it's definitely entertaining.
The consistency of every other day, you get the same matchup, and it's very rhythmic, and you kind of follow it a little easier. I know Reyna is loving himself some Jason Tatum right now.
I guarantee that the Boston Celtics take down the Toronto Raptors. I'm calling it, baby. This is the Jason Tatum era, and I'll say no one's talking about him. He played so well in that first series, but Luka stole the show so far. I'm not hating on that. And Donovan Mitchell has actually played really well from that class as well. But Jason Tatum's complete. He doesn't have to play that hard. And I won't agree with you on your statement, Drew. I actually think Gordon Hayward isn't too big of a loss. They can absorb that because they're going to defer a little bit more now to Tatum and probably Kemba to do some of the heavier lifting. But they do miss Gordon Hayward, but I still got the Celtics taking them down.
I think the biggest surprise has been how well Miami's played.
Miami looks good. Yeah.
And I think they have the potential for the biggest upset in the second round. They are the third best three-point shooting team in the league, and Milwaukee loves to give up the three.
They do.
So I think it's going to be very interesting. I think that's going to be a really good series, and I think Jimmy Butler has a little bit of step on your throat mentality to him.
Oh yeah.
I like Jimmy Butler, man. I just do. I
me
think
too. And Coach Bud has been known to not do so hot in the playoffs, right? He had a really good Atlanta Hawks team that was number 1 seed, and they flopped, right? Last year, the Bucks flopped. Whose fault is it? Who's to say? But it doesn't help that Coach Bud doesn't have a great reputation for winning a big game right now.
They can't all be like Pops, even if they come from the Pops tree.
Right.
Shout out to Brent Brown. Hope you're on unemployment already because
RIP.
But sticking to the Celtics Raptors, it's going to be a classic coaching matchup too. You got Brad Stevens, who's a beast. I love watching Brad. I shouldn't like the Celtics because I'm a Lakers fan, but I love watching the Celtics play because of Jason Tatum and Brad Stevens and Kemba and all them. Nick Nurse, Coach of the Year. Like he's doing
that's deserved
without Kawhi.
Yeah, that's deserved.
Yeah, for sure. And he brought it up is that, hey, we didn't have Kawhi for 19 games last year when he was with the Raptors, and they went like 15-4. You know,
Yeah.
so
Good job, Big Nurse. Good stat right there.
yeah, he fucking jabbed them. And yeah, dude. And so that's gonna be a fun matchup. And I don't know a whole lot about X's and O's with basketball, but if I did, I bet you'd be able to see all sorts of adjustments and this defender's doing this now, or this offensive set is starting here now, and I bet you'd be able to break it down pretty nice.
I did some deep analysis on the Raptors and Bucks. It's going on my article this week. But what they did to Giannis was they slowed the pace dramatically down from game 1 and 2. So the Bucks go up 2-0. And then what they did, their big adjustment is the pace just went to dog slow. And they're making them, I guess, just slow down the game and making the Bucks take less shots, let Giannis not run wild down the court. And so there's a few things. There's a few things that I think these teams figure out at one point in the series to try to slow down the train.
Yeah.
So I think Danny, was that your biggest surprise? Is your biggest surprise of the bubble playoffs the Miami Heat, or what would you say your biggest surprise for this?
No,
playoffs?
I still think the biggest surprise is going to be the Mavericks versus the Clippers. I know the Clippers aren't 100% with Beverly out, but you take out that game 1 Porzingis ejection. I think everybody expects the Clippers to win. I don't think anybody thought they were going to have this much trouble outside of Dallas. Dallas fans will say all day that they see this coming, but I don't think anybody expected this.
Yeah, absolutely. DB, your biggest surprise of the playoffs so far?
Yeah, I thought about this. I was going to say Philly being as pathetic as they are, but that's actually not a surprise. My biggest surprise is going back to what we talked about, how good Luka Doncic is. It's the first time I've really spent a lot of time watching him. And, you heard whispers of it, but the guy doesn't shy away from the moment. And I hope we get to watch him play more basketball. I don't actually want either of those teams to get eliminated. I'm almost mad they're playing one another. I'd like to see both in a second round series.
Yeah.
But for me, it has to be how good he's been so far.
All right. And my biggest surprise, I'll get to you next, Raina, and we haven't really talked too much about it, is the Denver Nuggets, how bad they are. When did they get so bad? And how did the Jazz make them look so bad? Or did they make the Jazz look good? I don't know, but the Jazz are just freaking killing it. And obviously, Spider Mitchell is just a man, but I expected this to be the other way around. I expected Denver to be dominating. And what's his name? Jokic doesn't really look like the guy we thought he was, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. My pick was going to be the Jazz. They look like they peaked. They have a good team. I mean, Donovan, I think, is a playoff caliber player where he knows how to turn it on and actually get some good buckets. Jamal Murray is also another playoff player, and so they're really leaning on him a lot. So
Right.
Pretty interesting. I mean, I think the Jazz should put him away, and they have a team. I mean, they have Gobert, they have Conley. They have enough guys, I think, that can keep them going. So, yeah, I've been surprised the Nuggets have sucked.
Yeah, and it's also interesting to see just how it's obvious to see who the better teams are, right? In the normal playoff format, it's more difficult to see it because you get that momentum change when you go back home, right, after losing your first two, or you get that momentum change at some point because your home court kind of helps you out a little bit. But now it's just if you're getting dominated, like there's no hiding, like there's no momentum, there's no home fans. There's no home cooking. It's just you're just gonna get beat. And I think the Denver Nuggets are just absolutely just awful. They're just so
for being the 3 seed in the West, absolutely.
Right.
They should be much better.
Yeah, and nobody thought they were gonna win a championship, but at the same time, they were supposed to be competitive, and if they can't even compete with the Jazz, who's down their second best player, like it's not great.
Yeah.
But all in all, I mean, I think, what do you think? Is so far first round incredible? Okay, good, pretty good?
Yeah, no, it's been exciting. I would say I've been a lot more excited about the playoffs than the regular season. The regular season was kind of like an extended preseason minus the Blazers, and the West trying to sneak in was fun, but a lot of the stars weren't taking it serious. And now that they've gotten down to action, it's kind of picked up a little bit.
The one thing I will say is that if you have a chance, listeners, you need to go check out Rio's comment section on his post about the top 10 players in 2025, because there are a lot of people complaining about why Embiid and Ben Simmons aren't on that list.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you got a front row seat as to why they're not on that list. So Rio, good job to you, my man.
Yeah, and I was
Joel Embiid and cry in the corner.
why you got to be like that, man? I was an Embiid apologist at that point because I had more faith in them, but he's so good. He just gets in his own way. DB, what are you looking forward to the most over the next couple of weeks of playoffs?
Well, what I'm looking forward to most tonight is the fact that while we were recording, I just took the over on Carmelo Anthony threes because I was sick there. So I hope he makes 2 3-pointers tonight. Hello. So, God, this is bad. I'm looking forward to that.
Or does he need to make 2 or more?
He's got that over 1.5. Baby. Pound it. Just two, Mello. Come on, man. Come on.
And real quick, for people who don't know, and I don't even think Randy was here, we were talking about this bet beforehand, and we looked at the stats, and I thought we generally said, no, don't take the bet because he only has
that is correct.
2 threes in the first 3 games.
I got hot fingers. I can't help it.
DB has hot fingers, and he just couldn't resist. That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a great bet.
But anyways, if you want to win some money, we're coming back this next week. Lakers -4 first half. That should be a fun one. And that one's coming up in the next 5 to 15 minutes, whenever it starts. But keep on the lookout. Still got articles coming out. This pod every week. It's always on Sundays except for today. And as we said before, happy Mamba Day. Go out and watch yourself a YouTube clip of Kobe, your favorite one. But for the guys, enjoy. Have a good week. Don't work too hard and win some money. All right.
BC out.
8/24/2020. We're out of here.